I cordially invite our chief guest, the Honorable Mohammed Nasheed, Speaker of the Maldives People Majlis, to address this Honorable House.
Madam Speaker, Honorable Minister, members of the Youth Parliament, distinguished delegates, everyone present here, good afternoon. Let me start by saying what a great privilege it is to address Sri Lanka's Youth Parliament. When I was young, that was a long time ago, we didn't have youth parliaments in the Maldives. We barely had a national parliament at all. It was just a rubber stamp house. The country was very closed back then, very repressive, very authoritarian. Parliament was an institution. Instead of sitting in jail, it would have been nice to have been sitting in a youth parliament as you are doing. Alas, that wasn't an option of the Maldives back then. The fact that Sri Lankan young people can freely join this youth parliament, participate in vigorous debate, engage in scrutiny of your government, that's a wonderful thing. It's a freedom that you must cherish and uphold. As the Secretary General just pointed out, Sri Lanka is a remarkable country. It is the only country in South Asia where political freedoms have endured. Only country in South Asia. In spite of your troubles, Sri Lanka has always changed power through the ballot. Since independence, you've never had a coup. You've never had a dictator. Your country has its problems, but the strength of your parliamentary democracy and political institutions is something to behold. Madam Speaker, this meeting fills me with great hope. Seeing the Youth Parliament holding the government to account. Let me also take a moment to thank the Minister of Youth and Sports, Namal Rajapaksa. Already a member of Parliament and Cabinet Minister, while still technically being categorized as a youth. Namal is a rising star of Sri Lankan politics. Namal is already an old friend of the Maldives. He is very well known and well liked in our country. I think the minister would be just as recognized in the lanes of Malé as he is on the streets of Colombo. He has realized astutely that although Sri Lankans and Maldivians are neighbors, in reality, we are cousins. The Maldives women surfing team is on their way to Hikkadwa. Thank you, Minister. Madam Speaker, very often the view about young people is that young people should pipe down, stay quiet, and wait your turn. It's been like this for as long as anyone can remember. My generation is in charge now. Your turn will come, but not for another 2 or 3 decades. But the problem is, my generation is not running things very well, especially on issues that affect young people the most. As some of you might know, alongside campaigning for democracy, I have spent many years trying to make progress on climate change. This issue, climate change perhaps more than any other, will have a huge impact on the world. I sat around a table of 20 world leaders in Copenhagen in 2009 and watched with horror as some countries refused to allow the rest of the world to move forward and take bold action. In Glasgow last month, I saw similar scenes. 1 or 2 big powers, represented by officials in their 50s and 60s, vetoing action on climate change. It is clear that the old ways of doing things, where young people remain quiet and wait their turn for political power, isn't working anymore. There are issues on which your voice and your interests need to be properly represented, and Madam Speaker, represented now. Climate change is one such issue. All the politicians, we just don't have enough skin in the game. We will all die before the climate heats up intolerably. And because climate change is such a difficult problem to solve, it's too easy, too tempting for us to kick the problem down the road. Climate change is our problem, but, Madam Speaker, it will be your nightmare. So initiatives such as this Youth Parliament are crucially important. You must engage. You must get involved in the political process. And you must make your demands heard. Madam Speaker, Sri Lanka is a beautiful country. I've mentioned climate change, but debt is also another serious problem which affects countries across South Asia. I also believe that in so many ways our debt is linked to climate change. We all need infrastructure, and we all have to go into debt. But Madam Speaker, when we took the loans, the world was saying that the bad weather is not linked to carbon emission. The IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, was repeatedly saying that the bad weather was 50 years down the line. But last year, as we went to COP26, the IPCC report was very clear. It says, Madam Speaker, that the bad weather is linked to carbon emission. Sri Lanka has seen significant floods in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and recently in 21. 100 dead and another 100 missing. The estimated gross extent sown for the 2017 Yala season was at 269,596 hectares. It is a decline of 30% from the previous Yala season. Meanwhile, the harvested extent is also estimated to have declined by a good 33%. For 2017, according to the World Bank post-disaster assessment, the government dispersed $6.6 million, and the bank feels, the World Bank, total recovery needs were estimated at $800 million. Paddy production during 2016 Yala season declined by a good 20%. It came to 1.5 million metric tons compared to that of 2015. The extent harvested during 2016 Yala decreased significantly by 20% to 343,000 hectares. Recent bad weather has cost Sri Lanka billions of dollars, both in damages and lost revenue. When we took the loans, we did not factor the challenges of bad weather. But, Madam Speaker, it is upon us now, and bad weather is stranding our assets. Floods and robust. Authoritarian systems give us nothing. They don't solve problems. They don't allow young people to get involved in politics. They don't deliver long-term stability. When all said and done, Sri Lanka has a bright future, and that is your future. Before I end today, again, I thank the Minister and also the President and the Prime Minister. As it has been always pointed out, both our countries share the same history, the same culture, the same ethnic stock. We are the same people. And it is extremely pleasant and such a delight for me to see all of your young faces vibrant and engaged in the difficult issues that we all face today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.